This school impacted my life like no other institution I've been a part of.
Each individual boy, his interests, his needs come first. They're our priority.
It's all about the kids, the bottom line. What we say, a great place to be and to have been.
Boys Latin was a second home.
Dyson is Boys Latin, and in so many ways, Boys Latin is Dyson.
Dyson Ehrhardt is a part of that home.
I think of Dyson as the school's icon.
Dyson is Mr. Boys Latin.
People meet him, they like him, they want to be around him, they come here, they stay here, they leave better people.
Hi, Dyson.
I started in '52, and I've only missed 2 years, 60 years.
The fact that Dyson is in his 60th year as a member of the school community is extraordinary, something that I've not experienced myself anywhere else that I've been or know of.
Boys Latin has been a way of life for the Ehrhardt family for a long, long time.
I entered in 1952. My brother was a senior, and I was at St. Mary's School in Govans and had rheumatic fever for a year and was sick. Missed the whole year of school. Came back and they said, you know, you got to go to a smaller school. So Boys Latin was there, my brother was there, so I entered in the 5th grade. You know, my brother came home with all these different classmates of his. I can mention a little load of names, and they had their BL white sweater with a maroon letter, and then they had their maroon sweater with the white letters. But I just always looked up to these guys. I wanted to be, I wanted to play lacrosse. I wanted to play football. I wanted to play basketball. I just wanted to be like one of the boys. Looked up to all of them. And it's funny, it was a one-room schoolhouse back then. That may date me a little while, but one-room schoolhouse.
I'm Bob Carter. I've been a part of Boys Latin since I was in I think it was 4th or 5th grade, I believe. I met Dyson Ehrhardt when I was in the 5th grade, and Dyson was in the upper school. This was down on Brevard Street, and he was the monitor for our recess. He played kickball with us, he played catch with us, and he actually became one of us, which was kind of remarkable. And you know, when you're in the 5th grade, and you have, I guess Dyson was in the 10th grade, or he was in upper school, he's a hero to us.
That's where it all where did it start? Maybe it started right there. Just enjoyed being with the kids and teaching and playing a game with them and stuff like that. And maybe I never grew up.
When I look at Dyson Ehrhardt's career, it spans full 3 generations. Very few institutions have that kind of continuity for integrity, for staying on mission, for the qualities that comprise a Boys Latin experience.
I realized at an early stage that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to sort of teach and coach. I never woke up and said I wanted to be a fundraiser. That certainly wasn't on the top of my list, but to teach and coach.
I'm Hugh Gelston. I went to Towson High School, graduated there, not recommended for college. I came to Boys Latin for a year. I did meet Dyson on Brevard Street, probably up in the study hall or the Saturday detention where he was finishing out his week. Out back in those days in the study hall, you had actual ink wells that you used to dab your pen in, and I was out of ink, and I asked Dyson he was on the other side, to throw me his ink well. And I could have caught it, but I let it hit the wall. And Dyson got a Saturday detention, which he was due to get anyhow somewhere along the line. After graduating from Boys Latin with my master's degree from high school, I then went to the University of the South in Sewanee, Tennessee, taking a summer class at Towson University, or state teachers at that time. And I saw Dyson, who I guess was taking a class, and he said they were looking for teachers in the lower school at Boys Latin. And I had just been let go at University of Baltimore. I came over, and my aunt worked here, so I at least had somebody else that I knew. And The rest is long history.
I didn't have a college degree. There was no reason to hire me. Mace wanted me to help him with lacrosse. Jack Williams didn't hire me. Bill Cooper did. I helped out with the 3rd and 4th grade and the 5th and 6th grade. They were all lower school at the time. I shared a lot of things that I learned at camp with these kids, how to play different games and organize and stuff. And nothing great was ever accomplished with that enthusiasm. Always, hey, we're gonna play old man eggs today. Well, what a dull game that is. I was all into it. The kids got into it, you know, so it's what you put into it, you know, you gotta make that effort. And some people it's an effort and that's a shame. Not an effort with me. I just enjoy doing it.
My name is James Keith Scroggins, and I'm a Boys Latin 1973 graduate. And I've been affiliated with the school in some aspect, I guess, for a total of 52 years. I have always treasured the time that I had here at Boys Latin, and that's why I still come back, and I feel great when I'm here.
The school, and particularly when I was here under Jack Williams, gave me an appreciation and acceptance of others, of differences, of tolerance of my own shortfalls, tolerance of other people's shortfalls, and taught me the humanity of being a human being.
It's a school that cares about the individual boy. The individual boy is important. He's got strengths and weaknesses, and we want to build on his strengths.
Start with the strengths of the boy and leverage those strengths to help him become his very best.
I'm Brandon Gaines, class of 1972. My father went here, my uncle went here, my cousins went here, my 4 boys went here. So that's kind of just a mini introduction to my BL experience. When I came here, there was a knock on Boys Latin that we would take the kid that couldn't make it elsewhere. And I always thought, what a positive. We're taking a child that's had a struggle somewhere else, we've brought them here, and we've made them a success. I mean, what better story can you tell?
When you take nothing but the cream of the crop, you leave yourself very little margin for failure. And Jack took a lot of pride in taking some kids that we really had to work on, and then you stand out here in June and they graduate and walk across that stage and shake hands with the headmaster, and you know you played an important role in that young man's life.
Jack Williams, the quintessential headmaster, alumnus, lacrosse player, lawyer, took it upon himself in 1959 to try and save the school because it was decided by the previous owner. He decides he's going to shut down, he's had enough, and Jack decides that he's going to try and pull this miracle off.
We didn't know we were going to have a school until summertime.
We only had like about a week or 10 days to get this place ready, Llewellyn ready for the kids coming in to start the year.
My first hours on this campus were spent cleaning up rooms, scraping wallpaper, painting, and doing whatever it took to get what had been a very an elegant mansion at one point in time, converting that into classrooms and a place where Boys Latin could start again.
We walked into an old house, not a whole lot of time to fix it up.
That's how we spent the first weeks of that summer for those few of us who were really part of the new school, part of the new era of the old school, if you will.
We were lucky we had a house to walk into.
Dyson was back here in the first days of the school relocating out to Lake Avenue. Step by step, he worked with Mr. Williams to ensure that we were able to grow and to thrive.
Back then, you just didn't do one job. We were smart, you did everything. And you didn't go home early, you didn't come in late, and whatever Jack would want you to do, the headmaster, you know, you just did. What do you have at Boys Latin that you don't have down the road at Gilman? You got gyms, you got swimming pools, you got all, but what do you have at Boys Latin here? And I was a young 26-year-old kid, and it just came out. I said, we have Jack Williams.
I see similarities in the way Jack Williams and Dyson Ehrhardt treated people.
We were both ourselves, we were friends, we liked each other. I certainly recognized his strengths as being a person and being a listener to the kids and having time for the kids. I think he saw me as the outgoing guy, would meet the boys, would meet the parents, and love the parents and talk to them. We just met. I mean, we went on vacations together, and he was a lot older. We just talked the same language. You know, cared about the kids.
Kids. That's
It's all
about the kids.
Everything we were saying, like, oh, it goes back when the kids.
Dyson, to me, has always represented Boys Latin. Jack Williams, for a long, long time, represented Boys Latin. And I was grateful, because I knew Mr. Williams before I came here.
Jack was a lawyer. He wasn't an educator. And I think one of the traits that he brought to Boys Latin of being a lawyer was he listened to people. He didn't hurry up with decisions. He would take his time. He'd weigh things out.
Mr. Williams was more of a quiet person who would talk to you in very soft tones. And Dyson was that older brother, you know, that buddy that you just love to see and hang out with.
I love a party. I like to have a good time. And Jack wasn't that way. He just wasn't comfortable at a big party like that. And I enjoyed going around talking to everybody. So we were a pretty good 1-2 punch.
Dyson has a lot of Jack in him, and I think Dyson has shared a little bit of Jack with each of us, with the rest of us.
We have all kinds of Jack Williamses around here today. He was just down to earth, nothing pretentious about him, always had the time in the world to talk to you. Cared about the kids to the point where it wasn't talking. I mean, he didn't talk a good game, he also did it.
There were differences there, but they were the same type of individual in that, you know, they treated all people with kindness and respect.
You gotta listen to these kids. They all got a lot to say, and sometimes you're the big brother or the absent father or what, and our teachers play a great role, and I'm not sure they realize the role they play with these kids. They teach them, but these kids hang on every word they say. They go home that night and say, you know, Mr. So-and-so did this, or Miss So-and-so did that. It's really important that we are ourselves, and we present this image out there that they can identify with. And it's not something that I think you work on, it's just there, and we're all different.
I'm Chris Post, I'm Boys Latin's headmaster, and I'm in my 14th year. I began in 2008. For me, Dyson has been a tremendous support and wise counsel along the ways, helping to provide not just sort of institutional memory, but if I'm grappling with a difficult situation, to provide a different perspective. Dyson's done that for me time and again, and I couldn't imagine being where I am were it not for the incredible partnership and support of Dyson. Dyson's changed lives for more than 60 years, and he's changed my life, and I'm just incredibly grateful.
When I think of BL, I've always thought of Mr. Williams, and certainly I always think of Dyson. And you know, the interesting thing is I call him Dyson, and I used to call him Mr. Ehrhardt, and he would always tell me, just call me Dyson. And that made me feel like, wow, he really does respect me, because he didn't have to say that. And I was just in the 9th or 10th grade at the time. But he said, no, just call me Dyson. I've always treasured him as a person, as a part of BL.
You were basically the Pied Piper of the lower school and middle school. And I'll never forget when it was announced that you were leaving Boys Latin. I think it was probably '64. And I was totally crushed, because you were the beacon, you were the light in the lower school. We had all these women teachers, and you were one of the few guys that a lot of us could relate to. It was like getting your arm cut off. You had an anchor, and that anchor was one of the reasons you went to Boys Latin, why you came to class or you came to school. It was to see you, to be around you, and be acknowledged by you. And with that part of the institution, losing a guy like Dice, it was, to me at the time, was devastating. It was like losing a parent. I mean, you were the guy that made it fun to come to school.
It wasn't easy for me to leave Boys Latin at that time. I was married with one child and one on the way, and I was making $3,400 a year. Back then, that wasn't all that bad. I remember our monthly mortgage was $90 a month. We had a nice house in Rogers Forge, so it was great. I had a part interest in a boys camp, and I'm teaching and coaching here. In the wintertime, I'm going out at night, and I'm selling my camp. And I went to Ned Kaufman's mother's house, and I'm showing the slides, and she said, oh yeah, camp would be great for Ned. I'd really like to send him. Signed up for that and everything. She said, I'm looking for someone to come in and run my business. My husband died a few months ago, and I'm in charge of, I've got 5 major plants here in town, and I'm looking for someone to come in and take over True Blue dry cleaning. I said, well, that's what I've always wanted to do my whole entire life, was take over True Blue dry cleaning. She said, I'm going to pay him $28,000 a year with a car, expenses, key man, insurance, and all this kind of. I said, good God, you know, what about me? She said, I'd hire you tomorrow. I said, let me go home. And I remember walking up the steps right now, going into the bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed with Carolyn, and I said, I don't want to go, but I've got no choice. I really love Boys Latin. I love the kids there. I'd like to stay. I want to stay there. I don't have a choice. Married, 1 child, 1 on the way, $3,500, $3,400 as opposed to $28,000. I got to take this job. So I signed up. I kept it a secret for a long time here, but then I signed up and went to work with her. Started in September, and I said, I'm going to stay away from Boys Latin completely for a year. I want to give this a 100% opportunity to really fly and make it. Stayed away completely. Didn't come to a game, didn't come to a roast, didn't do anything. And I just dedicated my whole life to True Blue. The beginning of the next year, Rollo Brent, who was an alumnus of Boys Latin and past president of the Board of Trustees, and a longtime active member of Boys Latin, great guy, 2 sons came to Boys Latin. And Rollo sat down and he said, Dyson, I'd like you to be president of the Alumni Association. I said, what does that entail? He said, you'll sit on the Board of Trustees, you have a few meetings, you do certain things. We're going to help raise money. I said, okay, I'll do it. And I remember going to my first meeting. Joe Ehrhardt was the chairman of the board, great individual. And I left that meeting and I drove home and I said to Calvin, I can't do this. I got to go over and talk to Jack about maybe getting a job back there. I really want to be there. The money is great where I am. I'm just not the laundry king. I want to go back to Boys Latin. So I went in and said something to Jack, and he said, well, why didn't you come, it's September 14th, school started a week ago, why'd you wait so long? I said, I'll just, whatever you got handy. I know you can't pay me what I was making, but let's sit down and talk about it. What can we do? And he mapped out driving the school bus, working in the cafeteria, coaching lacrosse, taking care of middle school athletics, all kinds of stuff. And he said, I can pay you $9,500. I thought, wow, it's going to be tough. We just bought a house out in the country and everything, and I'm thinking, oh, Lord, this is going to be tough to swing. We'll make it. We'll make it happen. That's all. If you want something hard enough, you're going to make it happen. I'll never forget going home and saying to Caroline, I'm going back to Boys Latin. I'm going to make $9,500 a year. And she said, wherever you'll be happy, we'll be happy. Never will I ever forget that. Never forget that. That's support we all need. And so I took the job. Midway through the first year, I said, maybe around January, February, when they're talking about contracts for next year, Jack said, I think I'm going to be able to give you a little boost, but I need you here full-time, summertime, and we're going to start a development program, and I'd like you to run it, and we can pay you $13,500. And I'll tell you, from 9 to 13 was like pretty sweet. So I said, great, Jack, super. Let's just make it work. And that was my going back to Boys Latin. And Jack wasn't the first one that hired me. Bill Cooper hired me in the 60s. Jack was nice enough to make a job for me and open the doors to come back, which was pretty special to me. Maybe some people would have felt a little funny coming back and working in the cafeteria, selling sandwiches and doing that. It was all part of the program. It was something that had to be done. Jack asked me if I would help out in the cafeteria for 2 periods, and I did. And I remember Bob Carter coming down for lunch and all those guys, and these are guys that I coached and taught. And here I'm waiting on him, but it was a family. You didn't judge people like that. It was a job to do. You all did it.
Here's a guy right here that has held just about every job in Boys Latin. The only job you haven't held was headmaster. You've been the glue, and it's hard for you to accept this, but you've been the glue, in my opinion, that has held Boys Latin together through probably 8 to 10 headmasters, and the consistent beacon throughout all those gentlemen's tenure here.
One of the things that's incredible about Dyson, it's he hasn't done the same thing, obviously, for all of those 60 years. You know, we ask our boys to continue to stretch and to grow and to keep learning, and Dyson himself has modeled that. He's done a variety of things here.
What do you want me to do? I'll do anything. And I did. I drove the school bus. They used to drive down to Mount Washington and play ice hockey. I worked in the cafeteria. Taught fifth grade everything but math, and being a fundraiser, maybe I should be a little better in math than I am.
Dyson will do without being asked. Dyson will do anything that the school needs or requires.
Dyson does things because they have to be done. And I don't think he asks questions, he just does it because there's a need. My name is Butch Meisel. This is my 41st year here on Lakerland. My son Chris won here for 12 years, and I know he thinks highly of Mr. Ehrhardt, as he would call him. I don't think he would ever call him Dyson. It's Mr. Ehrhardt. And my wife worked here for over 10 years as well, so this has been a BL family. Dyson is the glue that holds this institution together. He's been a confidant for me, a friend. I talk to him almost every day. It's fun just to stick my head in the office and sit down and have a chat. I run things by him all the time. For example, the museum. Dyson has been behind this project for many, many years, and I've talked to him over and over about our plans, and I'm sure he maybe had something to do with talking to Duncan a little bit. Class of '88, he had that uniform in Iraq. Dyson is the glue that holds this institution together, and in my 41 years, he's the guy that's kept everything together.
I'm Sue Strapinski. In 1985, I became head of lower school and stayed till 2006. My boys have graduated from BL in 85 and 88, and I am truly a Laker. When I first met Dyson, there was warmth, there was compassion, yet fun. And he reassured me from day one when I started as head of the lower school that I could do this job. I thought, I can't do this. I can't do this. Well, I encountered Dyson, and I said, Dyson, help me. What am I going to do?
I just said, hey, Sue, you got it all. You got it all. You don't need to change a thing.
He goes, you're going to do it. We're going to support you. You can do it. Believe in yourself.
As far as a man or a woman in a boys' school, you look for somebody that fits. You fit the package. You're everything we're looking for. She ran a tough ship. She was good. And she had everything you needed. You know, she was outgoing. She loved the school. She had 2 sons here. She was perfect for the job. It was a perfect fit.
Well, that's all it is, because Boys Latin has the B and the L. Believe.
My name's Jimmy Curry. I'm a graduate of the class of '73. I'm one of those lucky few people that has been able to spend my entire adult life working in the same institution. I think over the years, Dyson really has been the glue that has helped keep this school together. It really wasn't until later when I started to climb the ladder a little bit, when Mercer Neal extended an opportunity for me to work in admissions, that I would find myself seeking Dyson's counsel, and continue to do so to this day. As you get to know a family and where they're from and who they're connected with and just what kind of interests they have and what have you, sometimes having them meet a guy like Dyson is the perfect formula for helping to get that family really want boys Latin, to put boys Latin at the top of their priority list. So I would frequently bring families to see Dyson.
Hal Hathaway graduated from Boys Latin in 1966, came in the 10th grade, fall of 63. I was on the 66 lacrosse team, and Dyson and Mace were our only two coaches. I mean, we probably only had 23 guys on the squad. I guess by then I was probably calling Dyson Dyson. You know, Mace was always Mace to us. Dyson, I guess due to familiarity, went from being Mr. Ehrhardt to either coach or Dyson. And actually the championship game, Mace was sick, he didn't show up. We were playing City College, you know, they were the public school champs, we were the private school champs. I think it was raining that day, it was not a very good day. So we only had one coach on the sidelines back then, and it was Dyson, and we crushed him. And you know, Dyson did a good job and culminated with a hugely successful season. Dyson represents Boys Latin School to me. Dyson, as he is to the huge part of this community, both alum as well as people who are just known to the school. You know, Dyson Ehrhardt is Boys Latin School.
I'm John Sieverts, and I've worked at Boys Latin for the last 20 plus years. My son Chris is a 1991 graduate, and I've just been fortunate to be here for that period of time and work with Dyson. It's been a real pleasure. 20 years ago, an opportunity came up at Boys Latin to work here, and I just knew that working with that guy Ehrhardt would be a lot of fun, with the hope that we might even raise a little bit of money together. Pretty much everyone knows he's been the glue that has held Boys Latin together. I think that a lot of people feel that way. I certainly do.
To me, I mean, Dyson has played so many roles at this school. You know, he's been an advisor, a confidant, a surrogate father for so many kids that had difficult childhoods, fundraiser extraordinaire. You know, most of these buildings would not be here were it not for all the contacts that he's developed over the years. Just everybody, if you asked anybody anything about Boys Latin, the first person they're going to bring up is Dyson. And again, because he is the glue that's held this place together forever.
I'm telling you what we have here. And it's a great, great little school, and we do so much for so many young people. This is what I'm saying, and I'd like you to be a part of it.
Dyson, from what I understand and what I've confirmed and what I've seen over a period of decades, wrote the book on development in the Baltimore market.
He's been the director of development, and really the only director of development since development really became a thing.
He's got the right personality. He personifies Boys Latin. He can communicate with anybody, by my definition, and is highly regarded in the market.
I've always referred to Dyson as the dean of development in the independent schools in the Baltimore area, and I truly believe that.
He's done that through building relationships, both in our community and outside our community. We've had a lot of people see what Boys Latin's about and embrace it, who are not Boys Latin people.
I'm selling a great product. It's on education for your child, and there's nothing better than that, and that's an easy thing to sell.
You can have beautiful buildings, and you can have bells and whistles, but really what you need to have in the community is credibility. And credibility comes with good people. And Boys Latin is synonymous with Dyson Ehrhardt, and Dyson Ehrhardt has been synonymous with Boys Latin.
We all followed his lead.
In this environment academically, when you're competing with other schools, and there's so many other schools in our venue, it's hard.
Without that lead and the resources that he's tapped, that he's been able to get donations to in this school, I don't see how the school, survives. How it would have survived without him today and the leadership that he has shown over the years.
So that's why we are where we are, frankly.
Dyson's very special in that from the time I first came here, he would always call your name. Scroggs, how's it going?
People like to feel that they are important and they mean something, and Dyson just has his own unique way, and it's mostly because he's such a genuine person, and that he is personally interested in you.
When I left Boys Latin, he still stayed in touch and wanted me to contribute, got me to come back to Boys Latin. And you know, we've had thousands of conversations about Boys Latin.
People that come back here right now, and somebody I haven't seen in a long time, I'm truly happy to see him and talk to him. I'm not going after him for money or anything like that. It's just, it was just a part of me.
He's the walking example of what it means to lead a life of humble service, living out our motto, Esse quam videri, to be rather than to seem.
I just appreciated his warmth, his humor, and his friendliness. I felt he showed me respect as a person. And so whenever I saw him, I always felt good because I just knew we were going to have a great conversation or he was going to say something funny.
He brings Boys Latin joy. He brings the faculty joy. He brings the Board of Trustees joy. He brings the students joy.
And even when the door is shut, in some cases here with some, staff or faculty or whoever, the door's shut, you don't even knock. In Dyson's, in his office, and I wanted to talk to him, I just peek around the window there and tap, and he'll go, "Come on in, have a seat, I'm on the phone. Just wait a minute." That happens all the time, because he's always busy, it seems like. But there's never a moment where he doesn't have time for me to talk.
If you're home sick or what, don't be surprised if the phone doesn't ring and you get a phone call from Dyson saying, "How you doing?" And that's just a natural thing for him. Or he'll write you a note and congratulate you on some accomplishment that you've had.
Dyson knows how to connect with people, how to make people feel warm, make people feel worthy, and that's important. To make them feel they have something to offer and to give. That's Dyson.
He has been the father figure for so many people.
You were bigger than God for me and a lot of my classmates. You were just the quintessential guy that everybody looked up to.
He's that kind of person that just can meet anyone and get along and will always be funny and always make you feel at home and comfortable.
It just comes so naturally to him. And he's a special guy.
It's not an act, it's not phony, it's not something that I said, "Hey, I watched this guy do this and I got to do that." It's just always, it's a natural way.
I remember him asking us to memorize poems. And a big one was the Charge of the Light Brigade.
Charge of the Light Brigade, was there a man dismayed? Yeah.
It was something designed to get us over the fear of public speaking, which we all had a great fear of.
He would get up there and the hands literally were in the pockets like this, looking at it. He had bangs, had the bangs like this, looked like little Lord Fauntleroy. And he'd get up there and he hated it. He hated it. You see him today, he is great on his feet. I mean, he's a great salesman. He's got a terrific voice, and he looks at you, and I'm saying, get your hands out of your pocket, Brandon. Look at me when you're talking. Just the basics. Half a leg, half a leg, half a leg, onward into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, rode the 600. Flashed all their sabers bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabering the gunners there, while all the world wonder. Honor of the Light Brigade, charge of the Light Brigade. And it goes on, which I can't remember all of it. Storm that was shot and shelled, boldly they rode and well, into the mouth of hell, into the jaws of death rode the 600. Good poem, but they all knew it. And Barbara Fritchie was another one, Annabelle Lee was one. There were about 4 that we taught him.
Whoever brought him back from college to work at Boys Latin did the greatest thing in the world, not just for Dyson, but for the students, because everybody gets to meet a fantastic individual who makes them feel at home and makes them feel comfortable about the environment.
The narrative around education on an equation of 1 is real. That's real at this place. That just isn't just view book gibberish, which you see sometimes.
More than teach the subject, he taught the kids. And I think his relationship with his students was really inspired them and challenged them. And it wasn't all about book learning. It was about, treating people and getting along with people.
Maybe we're teaching history at one point or something like that, but then we get off on a tangent on another subject, and we would talk about it. We'd talk about religion. Maybe we didn't teach history that day, but I think we talked about something really important. It was understanding there are other relationships and other things in this world. I didn't stay by the book a whole lot, but I think every subject that we got into or talked about was all meaningful. I didn't stray because we didn't want to do this subject or anything, but when the kids would want to talk about stuff, I just thought it was, good to bring it up.
Anybody can, get a teacher's handbook or whatever and go through it and teach things, but he taught the kids and his relationship with them.
Dyson lives the relationship one-on-one.
To know that you've taken an individual boy and you've made a difference in his life. There's some kids that struggle, some kids that don't, some kids that need that squeeze on the arm, some that need that little pat on the rear end that say, we believe in you. To know, as I said, they walk across that stage and they get their diploma, and nobody has to know about it. You don't tell anybody about it, but you know that you played an important role in that young man's life.
I'm sure he could tell you, I can't tell you the number of times, though, that someone walked in, closed the door, and sat down and said, Dyson, this is what's going on in my life.
I've talked to him many times about business, about family life, about my kids, and he's always had a nice pearl of wisdom to give me.
There was Dyson doing one-on-one, helping, changing a life, in some cases saving a life. Probably, we'll never know in some cases.
I tell the teachers now how important that is, that these young men come back today and they're 50, 60 years old and they say, God, I'll never forget that day that you said this or you did that or you made a difference in my life. They come back after so many years away and say, God, you really meant something to me. I want to thank you for doing this. You don't even remember doing that.
That kind of relationship and ability to engage on a personal level really is the epitome of the Boys Latin education on a scale of one. One boy at a time. There's one Dyson Ehrhardt at a time.
You may not remember this, you were in the goal at Druid Hill Park, and that's where Boys Latin, when they were on Bavard Street, played their spring sports, lacrosse. And my brother Fred was 4 years ahead of me, and I remember being out there as a 3-year-old watching you in the goal, standing with your legs crossed over one another and your hand on the stick, and that's my first recollection. I had no idea who you were, but you were Dyson Ehrhardt. Next recollection was in the 3rd grade with Louise Jose, my favorite 3rd grade teacher.
Great lady.
And you came in as a substitute. I remember this like it was yesterday. I was sitting next to the desk, and I had a little stubby pencil that had gotten so small, and I just threw it in the trash can, and it made this loud noise. And you looked at me and said, "What are you doing?"
I remember Fred was behind the goal, taking care of the balls and stuff like that. And I just remember Fred. And then I disappeared for a while and hadn't seen Fred or anybody for a long time. And I came back and I was asked to be a substitute teacher. And I walk in and I'm standing there, and you, as you said before, you're right next to the desk. And I look down at you, and all of you look alike except David. And I looked down at you and I said, "My God, Fred's never grown. What happened to him?" And it was you. That was my first recollection of you.
Yeah.
I remember you were in. I thought it was for your appendix. You said you had tonsils and adenoids or something.
Yeah.
I thought it was your appendix, but at GBMC after school, instead of going home, I went to the hospital to see how he was, and I did that for any of my students back then, I guess. And I went in, and there was Duncan in the bed, and Mrs. Smith sitting there.
There was a hallway. I remember being in the bed there, Mom there, and it was like a ray of light coming down the hallway, and there you were. And once again, it's the selfless dedication to the kids. Who would have thought that you'd come to see me in the hospital? I don't even know how you found out about it. but why? So how many other boys and families did you do that to that nobody knows about? The things that you've done behind the scenes that nobody knows about that you don't get credit for. Not that you're looking for credit, just who you are. It's who you are. If you look at the campaigns that have gone on here, of which you've involved in every one of them, every single one of them, in my opinion, it's because of you and your relationships and your love and dedication to the school. Because you look at any of the schools in town here, nobody has a Dyson Ehrhardt. So we're very blessed as an institution to have you because you make it so much easier for the school to succeed.
I just hope what we've done 100 years ago rubs off on these boys so they know exactly what is expected and what they've gotten out of it. It's tradition, family. We use all kinds of words, but the tradition that Boys Latin has, esse quam videre, that's a pretty big one.
He really cared for the kids, and that's what I think is sort of behind the motto of Boys Latin.
That's where Boys Latin gets part of that mystique of being a family school. It's about guys like you. Teacher, coach, mentor, development, admissions, school bus driver. What else? What didn't you do other than be headmaster? What is it? You've done everything here, right? You've given your life, 60 years of your life to the institution and never asked for a thing. Always wanted to be under the radar, right? Never wanted to take the glory. You're the guy.
He is the rock. He's the person that's held this school together through thick and thin.
We've had some ragged edges over the years. We've had heads that didn't quite work out. And Dyson has been the continuity of all those special qualities of this school.
I mean, I never thought about it, but, thinking now, without Dyson, I don't see how the school could have made it without Dyson.
Dyson has been sort of a steady hand, not always out in front. I think more so in latter years, a little bit behind the scenes. That's kind of how he likes it. Dyson,
was not necessarily going to be the headmaster, but he's always been the second. The power behind the throne might be an accurate statement.
He to me is like the Wizard of Oz in the scene where you ignore the man behind the curtain. Dyson's the guy behind the curtain, and he's actually making things happen all the time.
I don't think we would be the school that we are today without Dyson.
Thank heaven he was here through some of those difficult times, because we all knew that we could call Dyson. We all knew that constant, insistent voice for Boys Latin's mission would always be there.
People have said, why do you stay at Boys Latin? Why don't you go, you do this, do it. This has been a home. Have I been afraid to go someplace else? Was I just too comfortable here? No. Had an offer to go, a nice offer. I got to know this guy, Jim Ohlmeyer from UCLA, really a nice guy. He called up and he said, Dyson, I got a job here, it'd be great for you. He said, you can come here and you can spend 2 years here and you can name any college you want to go to in fundraising. Okay, that's the kind of reputation we have here. I said, I don't want to do that. I want to fall in love. I want to fall in love with the place, and that's where I want to stay. And that I did. That this has been a great love affair. For me, I don't know about Boys Latin, but for me, it's been a great love affair. It's just been a great place to be. I can't imagine being any place else. And that goes with my children, Caroline, it's just been a great place to be. I'm playing a very small part in this world, and I hope I reach a few people.
Think about all the kids that, whether they're your sons or the kids that have gone to school here, seriously, are they not good people?
Oh yeah.
And that's a legacy that, again, comes back to Dyson and Jack and sort of what they ended up building here on Lake Avenue.
The only thing that makes an institution great are the people that love it and cherish it and make it work. And that's what Boys Latin has had over the years. It's guys like Dyson who have helped us weather the storms and have that consistency in leadership.
What do they call them? Ombudsmen? People that fix things. And if there was ever anything that needed fixing around here, he was a guy that did it. If we had an issue with a parent, or you had an issue trying to get a kid into school, or trying to keep a kid into school, who did you talk to? You talked to Dyson Ehrhardt. And guess what happened? He fixed it, and we went on, and as you so rightfully said, we wouldn't be here without him.
Having people like Dyson, as a coach, a teacher, a mentor, was really invaluable to my development. So, thank you, Dyson.
Thank you. Thank you.
The one thing that's always stood out in my mind about Dyson, and the reason he's special, is because he was always there for you, whether you were failing or succeeding. And so he was always a cheerleader. He was a guy that you could always count on, and has just been a good friend to so many people that have come through the school, including myself. And it's one of the things that makes the place special.
There's so many people that admire you, love you. You're the glue, frankly, that has held the school together through thick and thin. We had that tough time when we had all the different headmasters that just didn't come together well. And you have just always been there for everybody. So I thank you. I love you. I'm so happy to have known you, and hope you're around for many more years to come.
Baltimore's had Brooks Robinson. They've had Johnny Unitas
and Dyson Ehrhardt.
And Dyson Ehrhardt.
Hey Dyson, how are you?
You never know what other people think. You never think they see that or feel that way, Maybe I'm just too content with my life the way what I do. I don't need the pats on the back.
BL quite simply took care of me. If it had been, I believe, for Dyson working behind the scenes to keep me here, they probably would have let me go. And it wasn't because I was a troublemaker, it was just that I had some issues with reading, right? So, and my next stop would have been PS 232, right? Public school number 232, which would have been a statistic. I had my anchor here that I believe was looking out for me because I managed to dodge all the obstacles that were there for young guys that had learning issues. Quite simply, I had a problem reading. Dice is the guy in my mind that kept me on the course, took me under his wing on the lacrosse field. So there's been this relationship we've had. Maybe I'm the son that he never had. Maybe I'm the guy that you never had. And my rationale for giving to the school is singular. It's about the man right here to my left, Dyson Ehrhardt. It's what he's meant to the school. I didn't want to disappoint him or to let him down. And I gave in honor of you to acknowledge what you've done for the school. So it's because of you.
You're very kind.
So that's it. That's the reason, and that's the reason we're here today, is to honor you.
There's just something about this place that's got you. You hate to say it, they really care. All the schools care, and you've got great teachers in all the other schools. There's something about this place. The great thing I love to hear with people, we try to bring alums back and parents back and get them cultivated. It's great when you hear them say, we, how are we doing? What a great sound. I know I got you then,
He's had a laser focus to make sure that everything done here is for the benefit of the kids and for the benefit of the school. That really, quite simply, is his mission here.
I hope I've left something that makes people a young boy graduate being a better person. To listen to people, to understand people, to care about people. To put them in front of yourself.
His legacy is found in thousands of relationships he's built with young men who've graduated from in front of Williams Hall.
I think every institution needs an individual like that who is kind and gracious to everyone. And if you see him, you will feel comfortable wherever you are.
More people should seek his counsel and run things by him, because he's a wise man.
I think that's a God-given thing with Dyson. He is part of humanity in a way that many people just aspire to be. But the love that he shows and the care he shows for other people and for their circumstance and to help other people is just remarkable. And that's something that can't be faked. That's as real as the sun coming up every day.
My best, everyone, all right?
I will.
I get a hug from you, all right?
All right.
Good. I've said before, I'm the lucky one. Number one, to have Caroline behind me 100% and believe in it and want to stay. But to find something that I've really loved, I did take that opportunity to leave and try the outside, and that wasn't me, and this was it. So I was the lucky guy, and Jack and those people that brought me in. I just found something, at an early age, I found something that I really loved and wanted to do. Yep. And you can't change the philosophy 60 years ago, so different 60 years ago than it is today. Who do you care about? The kids are walking out that door. That's why we're here. Yep. If you think we're here for any other reason, you're really mistaken. You know, it's how can we help and make these kids better? How can we help these kids go into life? How can we help them to be prepared to go to college, come out of college, and start? The only love that grows towards separation is that of a parent and a child. You got to let them go. As a teacher, coach, and everything, we don't have to let them go. We can stay with them. Yeah. You know, but we're here for the kids. Talking about what I'm doing, it's not you're just doing your job, and my job happens to be trying to help young kids.
He engaged with us on a level that was really personal and meaningful.
There's great comfort in having people like Dyson in this institution.
Mentor and friend aren't words strong enough to describe the impact he's had on me.
He's really been a rock for me since I've been here.
Dice was just a great role model for all of us.
Dice was the constant guy. You'd run through a wall for Dyson. He was just that kind of guy.
I love the people.
He lives out and models our values of courage, integrity, and compassion.
I love the kids.
He is a true treasure to Boys Latin.
He loved everyone.
If you spend time with Dyson Ehrhardt and you're not a Boys Latin alum, by the end of the night, you're going to wish you were.
It's a special place, it really is, and that man right there got an awful, awful lot to do with it, if not more than anybody.
People want to be around Dyson.
Nobody has a Dyson Ehrhardt.
There's not one person more important to the success of the institution today and tomorrow.
Anyone who spends any time with Dyson Ehrhardt walks away and thinks they're his best friend.
I just hope that Boys Latin means a lot to them when they graduate. They don't forget Boys Latin.
You are the institution that embodies Boys Latin School. You are Mr. BL. Like it or not, it's you.
It's Boys Latin, Dyson, Boys Latin, Dyson. They're one and the same.
And do I have my moments where I sit there and well up and think about people? Yeah, you better believe it. I've met an awful lot of people in my lifetime here at Boys Latin, and it's been pretty special. And I have been the lucky one, and the relationships are really great. And to hear what these people are saying, I'd like to know who wrote the script for them.
Boys Latin has been a way of life for the Ehrhardt family for a long, long time.